Alli Covington, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brent. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, I was really happy to get you on the show because one of the main topics of the show is like health and fitness and nutrition, and you seem to be the lady that knows all the things about that topic. So,
I've been studying it for a little while. I don't know if I know all the things, but I try to know all the things. So there's that.
how'd you get started in this?
Um, I was freshman in college. I was a bio major,
So, like
and
4 years ago, 5 years ago?
I love you for that. I wish. So this is like 1995. I get certified as a personal trainer, and I needed to make money in college. And I didn't want to gain the freshman 10 or 15 or whatever it ended up being. So I went to the dorm on UCI's campus that specifically was like right next door to the Family Fitness. That's how far back I go. It's 24-hour fitness now. And so that it was within walking distance of my dorm. And I thought, well, I need to make money, and this seems like it would pay better than maybe being a cashier or waiting tables. So decided to be a personal trainer. And it was just really right in line with my undergrad degree and my studies and what I was doing. And so I got certified. Also got certified to teach group exercise classes. They used to be called aerobics classes. Yeah.
Got it, got it. And so you talked about your major. What did you major in?
Biology. Yeah, it was the
Interesting.
biochemistry class that I love the most because that's when you start to understand like why nutrition matters at the cellular level. I was very interested at the time in bodybuilding and getting how do you get lean? How do you make a body lean? How do you stay that way? Like what are the mechanisms by which you get a body to burn fat? And by the way, back in the 90s, they didn't have nutrition labels that spelled out what all of the macros were on the label. You just kind of had to know some of that information. I didn't know how many calories or how many grams was in, how many grams of protein was in an ounce of meat and how many calories was in all, right? Like you had to calculate it out. And so learning the fatty acid oxidation cycle and the Krebs cycle had me falling in love with it.
Or as it's also known, the TCA cycle, correct?
And
Isn't it?
it's got a lot of different names since then, but yeah.
Yeah, it's basically mitochondria creating DC current, right? That's how it works.
That's a really interesting part of where science has gone since then, because that's not what it was called back then, obviously. And we didn't really understand current or energy, and we didn't understand how mitochondria moved inside of a cell or any of that back then. We kind of still thought that they were like stagnant pieces of organelle, like the nucleus was, or like any other part of it. And so we didn't realize that they could take on different shapes and they could spin, and that they did things. They lived inside the cell and they moved and helped create that movement. Now we understand a lot more about energy transfer, and I follow a few professors from Stanford that really get into the weeds on how mitochondria and most diseases is where they're coming from, are energy diseases.
Mm.
It's mitochondrial metabolism and energy and how they're intermingled. Then there's another gal that I follow, and she's put out quite a lot of research. She does I forget her name, Lisa Feldman, something like that. I'd have to open up her book and pull it out to quote her correctly. But she's a neurologist and a psychologist, and so she's very, very interested in how the thoughts turn into that metabolic dysfunction, as much as the other scientists up there in Stanford are talking about how, you know, anxiety, anxious thoughts create this mitochondrial issue, and that turns into a metabolic issue. And so, because I have a master's in counseling psychology, I'm very interested. That's part of what I do with my coaching, is very interested about what are the words that you're using, what are the thoughts that you're thinking, and how is that impacting your metabolism today? What is your experience within your body, and how is what you're thinking about and the experience that you're living on a day-to-day basis, how is that affecting the rest of your overall health?
Yeah, that's great. I did see that you are in the psychological realm, and very few people in the fitness space, I think, are there. And I think very few people
Agree.
appreciate just how much of metabolic dysfunction and generally, poor dietary and health behaviors
Hmm.
stem from things like early childhood trauma. So
Absolutely.
are you tied to like the ACEs study? Are you keen on all that stuff?
I look at as many studies as I can, but really wanting to work with people at their level. The studies are great for like general knowledge, but they don't apply to everyone. And so really trying to understand what someone's personal experience is, because your gut health has a big impact on your metabolism and a big impact on your brain and your thought patterns, and so do the thoughts that you regularly think, so does the movement of your body, and so everything is so interconnected that this is why I don't do diets. Because if you if you just do a diet, a particular one, there's communities of people that have completely cut out large swaths of macros and big parts of their diet, right? Fruits and veggies, and they'll get rid of them entirely and say they're poisonous. But you just limited the scope of what you could understand about the dysfunction of your body at that point, because you didn't solve the problem, you just removed the thing that made the problem obvious to you. The problem is still there. The fruit and veggie didn't cause is not poisonous. It didn't cause your body to to be dysfunctional.
Yeah, you taking shots at my community here. So I'm
Sorry.
kind of no, it's fine. I'm carnivore adjacent. I did the carnivore January like 2 years ago. Uh,
Did you?
yeah, yeah, and it was awesome for me just to start off. But I've also incorporated fermentable fibers, kimchi's and sauerkrauts and blueberries. Oh my gosh, it's a fruit,
Right.
and it's that community gets very tribal and very religious
Yeah.
almost when it comes to people that deviate from the canon.
They,
So
you
I
know,
laugh
they remind me a lot of the vegans too.
a little bit,
A little
a
bit,
little
but
bit.
and I don't have any problem with it because I'm a big proponent of high protein, right? But your gut fiber needs, I mean, your gut microbiome needs some fiber, and it's actually really good for you. And if you don't have some of that, then how do we know where to start solving the real problem? And the real problem is at the root. It's intracellular. It's not just what you ate and what went through your gut. It's there's a problem, but if we're taking that out, how do we know that we solved it?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think to sort of circle back to your original point, I think some of the people that hyper focus on, oh my gosh, oxalates and oh my gosh, you might have honey or something. Those people, I think, potentially suffer, not every one of them, but I think some of them maybe suffer from an anxiety disorder. And I think this is that hyper focus on this minutia, because I think it is for most people. And I'm not downplaying. I know some people are very, very allergic to types of foods and can cause them
Hmm.
all sorts of
They are.
problems. And I'm not saying anti nutrients in plants, plant defense chemicals they don't have any impact on me. I know they totally do. But I do believe that there's a bunch of people that get spun up into this tizzy about I need to super strict carnivore. I can't have a single, and I think that's really detrimental to a lot of people. And it might even spin a negative health cycle by focusing on that anxious energy, like you talked about.
That is a really good point. I've never heard anyone from carnivore community ever talk about like, well, maybe that's actually just an anxiety disorder rearing its ugly head, because we know how to heal the gut. We know how to solve those problems. We know how to reverse IBS and Crohn's and autoimmune. We know how to fix those problems, and it just requires a few supplements and a little bit of time. But when I start hearing people talk about oxalates and seed oils, I'm thinking, how much of this stuff are you guys consuming anyway? Right? They're talking about like, well, the seed oils they fry the food in, but it should be fried in tallow. And I'm like, but you're still covering it in gluten, and the gluten is a bigger culprit than the seed oils are because we've been eating. How much of this stuff are you guys eating anyway? Right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's the other
these
thing people
oxalates are
don't.
causing you problems. Like, you're not vegan. You're not going to eat your whole diet full of vegetables and fruits. Come on.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's another thing where people get a little they're not very sophisticated to understand that most things in your
It's
diet
hard.
are they're dose dependent, right? Dose
Yep,
makes the poison. And if you
that's right.
have a little bit of a seed oil here and there, it's probably not going to kill you. And the data that's out there seems to be pretty mixed when it comes to PUFAs. They're not really the devil potentially that everybody might think they are in that community.
They aren't. It's seed oils are so well studied. It's like actually one of the things that I do with my software, with my app, is I separate land animal fat from all other types of plant and fish oils. Now, am I saying go guzzle a bottle of safflower oil? No, but I don't want all those calories in you anyway, right? Like, I mean, how much of your diet is supposed to be coming from fat? But because our bodies treat those two different sources of fats differently, if you want to create a lean body and you want to keep your body lean, your body is going to prefer land animal fat for storage over oils. It's going to, so for storage. So if you overeat land animal fat beyond what you will burn in a day, you're going to store it. And it's going to usually be stored more as visceral fat than as subcutaneous fat.
Which is for people that don't know, that's the worst type of fat that you can be storing.
The very worst. The very, very worst. So keto diet is great for some people. It's definitely great for people with seizures. But that's where when my son was diagnosed with a seizure disorder when he was 10 months old, I I sat down with a nutritionist. We tried to get him into ketosis, which never worked because his GERD was to the point where he couldn't digest the fat. And so then he would just vomit up all of his food for the day if he got even one or two too many grams of fat at dinner. But when I talk to them, they're like, we need to get his cholesterol checked now. We're going to do this regularly because there's a trade-off. We're going to be causing cardiovascular issues, but we're trading it off to get rid of seizures. And it's like, you have to understand what that trade-off is. Most people don't need to do that for themselves. They do it because it's an easier thing to follow than trying to really understand how their body works. And you're right. You said it. It's complicated. It's not easy, but you don't have it is learnable, right? Like you can actually learn how to feed yourself and not have to live on a diet for the rest of your life. That's what I do for my clients.
I think the problem is we live in an age where there's too much information.
Yes.
And I think, as you're probably aware, anyone who's looked at the literature is that the literature is pretty damn ambiguous, right? When it comes to nutrition, it's very difficult to get good data because most all the data that's longitudinal is going to be associational studies. It's going to be epidemiology. It's going to be so many confounding variables, such low quality data when you're giving people food questionnaires over the long term.
Yeah.
People don't remember they ate 2 days ago, let alone, the last month, right? And so I think it becomes very easy to take data and to slice it up and have it present the way you would like it to be presented. If you are vegan, you can find data to support your hypotheses when you're vegan. And also, we talk about industry money, funding studies, right? So I get it from a individual layperson perspective. Trying to figure out what to do with their diet, I think, becomes very challenging, particularly when there's so many influencers out there that are touting the new thing. It's this diet, it's that diet, and people just get spun up and around the axle, and they don't really know what they're doing.
That's exactly right. And it's a lot easier to just follow somebody that looks pretty good and say, I'll just do what they're doing because this is a lot of information to try to sift through and find out what's right. This is why I didn't bother reading every study, and I don't really worry about what studies coming out or anything like that because I learned it from the ground up. I took biochemistry for biology majors. I know how this works. I don't need a study to tell me what I already know. And I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm 49, right? I've been doing this since I was 19. I've watched decades worth of people, and I know what works, and I know how things are going to turn out. I know exactly how to get a specific result.
Awesome.
I don't need the studies to tell me that.
Yeah. So let's start there. Let's talk about what you've learned. And so if you are whatever you would call the average person, I know tons of
A
range of human
normie.
body. And normie, just a regular
Yeah.
person off the street that's struggling with their health or weight or whatever, like
Hmm.
what would you give like the 80% case? Like what would you recommend based off of your learnings?
To basically all of my clients. Those are right. Almost none of my clients are athletes or bodybuilders or trying to take their body to the kind of levels that I've done, but normal people that just want to be healthy and fairly lean, and they don't really care if they have a six pack, but they really don't want to be slow, and they don't want to be fat, and they don't want to be, and they want to be mentally sharp. So I calculate their macros for them and calculate out how much a carbohydrate that is not fruit or veggie that they can have. And I put a threshold on that. So here's how many grams of potato or bread or whatever you want to have, you can have in a day. Your threshold for land animal fat, so we can keep your arteries nice and healthy, and your minimum of healthy oils, avocado, nuts, salmon, fish, all of that. Minimum for healthy oils, because our bodies do have a minimum that we need, a minimum amount of fatty acids, just like our bodies have a minimum amount of amino acids. So I calculate out, here's how much protein I want you to get. Here's how much oil I want you to get. Here's how much fat I want you to stay under, how much carbohydrate I want you to stay under. After that, let me just teach you. Let's make some mistakes. Let's log some stuff. Let's see how things start stacking up. Let's look at what you normally do and start making small, tiny little fine-tune adjustments. Let's get moving. If you've never done anything, or it's been a really long time since you've exercised, let's get up and start walking and start making that a regular occurrence. And I always say consistency over intensity. So once we're moving consistently, now we can increase the intensity. Now we can make it go to a little bit higher intensity cardio, maybe even weight training and cardio in the same day. Maybe it's going to be swapped. Some days are going to be just weight training. Some days are going to be just cardio. And we're going to hit every body part so that we can get the maximum benefit, not only mentally, but physically. And we just keep dialing that in over time. If they have gut health issues in general. I have clients that are diabetic that we're reversing. I had a client that was diabetic, type 2 diabetes. Now he's barely even noticeable to be pre-diabetic.
Mm.
And he's not taking any metformin, right? But he struggles with treats sometimes. He gets these like, you know, mentally, when he gets anxious and the anxiety gets a little too high, or that starts to tip over into negative thought patterns, then he starts reaching for the treats. So then we work on rewiring those thought patterns. What are we focused on? Priorities, all those kinds of things. Because anxiety will cause the mitochondria in your neurons to dump their DNA and excrete cortisol. But for those people that have anxiety and depression and things like that, that they're on antidepressants for, then we're going to start looking at the gut. How's it moving? Because there are supplements that will help not only the motility of the gut, but it will help drive up serotonin levels, and those that will help drive down cortisol levels. So using those kinds of supplements to help improve the overall, integrity of the gut and the gut brain axis and what they're experiencing there from a mood issue, because mood is downstream of metabolism, which is downstream from neurotransmitters, which is downstream from exercise. So, while everybody loves to say, well, it's all 80%, 90% is diet, I'm like, no, it's not. It's 50-50. You have to exercise and move, and you need to eat to support that. It's together, it's in tandem, it's a right foot and a left foot. You can't walk by hopping on one foot only. You have to walk, use both at the same time, equally, right? Or you're going to end up with a lot of imbalance at some point. So that's how I do it. I help them find their lifestyle for them and help them build it into what they want it to be, instead of saying, here, do this program the way I've designed it, and then you'll end up like X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, got it. And so I want to pivot back a little bit because I think you skimmed over something super important, which is the gut.
Yes.
A lot of people, I don't think, understand how profound the impact of our gut is on our entire
Yeah.
bodies, but primarily mental health. You mentioned the gut brain
Yeah.
axis. Talk to me about that a
Hmm.
little bit.
Well, so the reason why the gut brain axis exists is because it was formed out of the same embryonic tissue. So the gut and the brain were formed pretty much at the same time, and everything else formed after that. And so they talk to each other through the vagus nerve. So what
Mm.
you and here's, I was just on a call with a client before jumping on here. What you put on your skin affects your gut. What happens in your gut can affect your mind, and vice versa. So it's really difficult to know, well, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know, but we just need to, let's work on both at the same time and we'll get to our resolution, because it doesn't usually matter what the source is as long as we get to where we want to go, right? So that's what the
Totally.
gut brain axis is.
And you really brought up one of my favorite topics, which is the vagus nerve. Are you familiar with Sterling Cooley? Do you know that guy?
No, who's that?
How about Stuart Hameroff?
Nope, those names don't ring a bell, but go ahead.
Oh, you need to look into these people. So
There's a
Stuart
lot of
Ham-
people to look into.
so Stuart Hameroff is a scientist who works with a guy named Sir Roger Penrose. He's hugely famous as a cosmologist, essentially a
Okay.
cosmic physicist, right? Like he's into all that sort of stuff. And he got down the
Okay.
rabbit hole on what consciousness was. That's where he sort of focused his field of study. And he and Stuart Hameroff started to sort of probe at this and found out, or actually there's a major hypothesis that seems to be very well confirmed, which is called OR. And
Interesting.
it basically says that the consciousness originates in the microtubules.
Hmm.
Microtubules make up the vagus nerve, essentially, and you can
Mhm.
actually treat a lot of inflammatory conditions by putting ultrasound on your vagus nerve in your neck. And also, you can treat Alzheimer's by putting ultrasound on your brain, like on your right temple.
Interesting.
But Sterling Cooley has got a ton of stuff on the vagus nerve. It is absolutely phenomenal, the research that has gone into that. The fact that it innervates literally everything, all of your organs in your entire body, including your thalamus, which is
Mhm.
one of the things that modulates an immune response and kicks out essentially anti-inflammatory cytokines and things like that. And
Right.
it's a huge area to study for me. And I'm really been interested in the communication pathways, like you said, between the gut directly and the brain via the vagus. That seems like that is
Yeah.
an emerging area of study, and I think that we're just scratching the surface on what we're going to learn.
Yeah, I started learning about this in 2016 from a prominent microbiologist. And I found it to be really fascinating then, that some of the bacteria in your gut will make you more outgoing, and other bacteria will make you, more closed off. So the gut microbiome really dictates so much of your life, not just digestion and all of that. So if you're not feeding it good fiber, if you're not feeding those good bacterium the fiber that they need in order to proliferate, what are you doing to the rest of your mood in your life? Like, how is that really impacting it? There's a guy I follow on Twitter who loves to go down the rabbit hole of research. So I just let him go down the rabbit hole and then come back and,
You just
and read
follow.
his stuff, because I'm like, I don't have time for that. I'm busy working with people, right? And I've got kids and my own fitness to tend to. I don't have all day to read research studies. And one of his tweets was talking about how the proteolytic bacteria really, really need root vegetable fiber in particular, but not potatoes, non-starchy root vegetables. And I thought, well, that's very interesting. So of course I asked him about it and thought, well, now I'm going to start adding more carrots into my diet. But for those people who are carnivore and or keto, and they won't eat those vegetables, they won't eat the types of things that good bacteria really, really needs. No wonder they're starting to get kind of grumpy. Maybe that's part of the reason why they love to attack everybody's diet ideas online. I don't know, but it'll start to change your personality over time if you follow a diet, like, a diet, a specific diet, long enough. So the question really is, do you like the way it's changing or not? Do you feel like you're being left out at the party, or you're having to give up too much of life? Like Brian Johnson is a perfect
Oh
example.
man,
of a guy who I would love to say like his head's in the right place or his heart is in the right place, but I wouldn't want to live like him, even if it meant I lived an extra 10 years. Screw it. Give me a
Definitely
give
not.
me
And I think,
some wine and some cheese and let me go about living my life. I'd rather do more cardio to overcome it because I want to live too, right?
yeah, and ironically, I think Brian Johnson's going to kill himself just from lack of sunlight. And I'm not joking.
Probably. Probably.
The dude looks
Right?
like a vampire, and he
Yeah.
brags about like not getting any sunlight. And I think the emerging science seems to indicate that sun is absolutely critical for human health.
It's the best way for our bodies to convert sunlight into vitamin D. Why would we take a supplement that is going to be far inferior compared to what our own body is capable of doing? Doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
Plus,
I
he just
think
doesn't. He looks too translucent. Yeah.
he looks sickly.
He
He looks
does.
sickly.
He does.
Do you
Yeah.
follow Jack Cruz at all, Dr. Jack Cruz?
I don't know. Maybe that name sounds familiar. It doesn't. He doesn't pop up in my timeline enough, but I
I tell you
follow.
what, I will recommend anybody. There is a 2-part podcast. So do you know who Rick
Okay.
Rubin is?
Sounds
Famous
familiar
music
too.
producer, got a giant beard. He's produced like all the big
Oh,
names.
yeah. Okay.
So it was Rick Rubin's podcast, Tetragrammaton, and
Okay.
Andrew Huberman was on it with Jack Cruz. It was a 2-part podcast. And
Interesting.
I've never seen Andrew Huberman so thoroughly humbled in my life.
Really?
Yeah, it was shocking. Dr. Jack
That
Cruz, a really,
sounds like it's probably a difficult thing to do.
that's what I thought. And Huberman was just like bowing and like, yes, sir, yes. Like he was just so, like, I mean, Jack Cruz is kind of a dick. Like he is really aggressive, and that's the approach he takes. But he's a neurosurgeon. He's brilliant. He's very much
Oh, well, that makes sense because, neurologists think they're God, but neurosurgeons know they are.
exactly, exactly. But no, I love him. His heart's in the right place, but his delivery is very abrasive and very arrogance. But I've seen him do some good work too. He was on Danny Jones' podcast with Mary Bowden. Do you know who that is?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, she's the the doctor in Houston Medical that got basically in a whole bunch of legal trouble during COVID, and so she's kind of like this. She's like an ear, nose, and throat doctor that
Mhm.
treated all of these COVID cases, and she sort of became a proponent of ivermectin and some other things. And
Ah, she stepped outside the box initially.
she
No wonder
she
she got in
she
trouble.
she did, and it was like Jack Cruz, and then her and Callie Means, and Jack Cruz tore Callie Means absolutely to pieces. It was an interesting podcast, but I digress. He's a huge proponent of sunlight, to say the least, and the evidence that I've seen about sunlight certainly makes me think that it is an underappreciated aspect of health. And I think humans in the last 20, 30 years have been told sunlight's terrible for you, stay out of the sunlight, just stay
Right.
indoors and be surrounded with blue light all day and you're going to be fine. And boy, our health outcomes haven't improved.
No, and I've never listened to that piece of advice either. I don't wear sunscreen. I go out in the sun a lot. In fact, this summer I used a tanning peptide just so I could go get more of it without burning at all. And no, it's been great. I live in Southern California. I grew up at the beach. I've always been in the sun. I've had plenty of sunburns, but I don't care. I would rather be a wrinkled brown berry when I die than a white translucent anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
What are we aiming for here? If we're gonna remove everything that makes life fun and enjoyable just to squeeze out an extra couple of years, what's the point of those years when we're just going to be miserable and denying ourselves everything that feels great to be in the human body? That'd be like saying I'll live longer if I don't have sex. Well, what's the point?
Kill me tomorrow.
Right? I
Oh,
mean, what are we talking about here? So there needs to be a psychological balance. And this is why I don't do diets. And this is why I don't get anyone hopped up on too many supplements because I don't want them to get their nutrients through supplementation unless they're incapable of getting it. I want you to get it through whole foods. I want you to eat. I want you to not have to be relegated to carrying around all these supplements all over the world every time you travel. Oh no, I've got to bring an extra bag with all my supplements in it because now you're just being tethered to another kind of weight. you should be free to eat
Mm.
what you want and move about the cabin, so to speak, right? And go about the world and be able to eat and be healthy and move. That means that you've got to be strong enough to move your body. It means you've got to have cardiovascular fitness and endurance well enough to be able to go climb Machu Picchu if you feel like it one day. It means that you also need to be able to tolerate eating different kinds of foods because you don't know where you're going to end up, and you want to be able to experience everything that those cultures offer and the flavors and everything that that means to be human with those senses. I don't see the point in limiting yourself from all of that just to try to squeeze out a few extra years. How will those years be any fun anyway?
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think people think about it that way.
No,
Some
but I think you
people,
touched on something really important way earlier on, which was they make themselves they're showing their anxiety disorder and they're showing it through their food. And I think that's a really interesting take. I haven't heard anybody say, but the more, I mean, I can completely see it in all of their patterns.
yeah,
Uh,
I watched somebody like Paul Saladino, and like I get that he's a little over the top, but dude, like he was showing this video like yesterday. He was in some Uber, and like they had the trees, the air freshener trees in the Uber, and he was just like,
love
"Oh
it.
my gosh, oh don't ever do." It's like what he's saying is technically true, but it is such a minute aspect, and the chance of it actually causing you harm on a 15-minute Uber ride is next to zero, statistically speaking.
Right. Well, and there's the other that also presupposes and assumes that the body does not have its own built-in defense mechanisms, which it has much better built-in defense mechanisms than we could ever hope to overcome. Right? Your liver, your just the hairs inside your nose are filtering out, environmental toxins. Like, come on, the body is doing just fine as long as you don't weaken the immune system by mistreating the gut and eating junk food and no fruits and veggies and not enough protein and eating a bunch of fried chicken and sandwiches or peanut butter and jelly, it's cookies and all of this stuff. Like, stop eating the processed grains to that point where you're weakening yourself, and your body will be able to combat just about anything. I mean, we have cancer cells in our body all the time. Your body's immune system is there to clean it up and get rid of them, go kill them. That's what it does all the time. You weaken your body, you will end up getting things like cancer. So how about we just not weaken it and keep it strong? So don't eat all that stuff. Then you won't worry about seed oils and you don't have to worry about a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that people to sort of talk about your two-legged stool here with the exercise and the diet, people don't realize how important cardiorespiratory exercise is for cancer. Because there's something called shear force in your blood. I'm not sure if you know that, but as your heart pumps blood faster and faster through your circulatory system, the sheer force of it going through actually destroys cancer cells. It is a known mechanism of action to combat cancer. And so, if you're getting your exercise and you're eating these whole foods and like you're having a good gut microbiome, like you're mostly going to be okay, assuming you just got some crazy negative, family history or something that you need to be worried about.
Yeah, well, and not only does that happen, right? It's kind of I look at cardio as, and I'm defining cardio as not just walking. I know walking is very good for you. Yes, 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 yes. But that doesn't mean don't go do the higher intensity cardio either at a steady state. That doesn't mean let's not get into the 150s and 160s. Even tipping into zone 5 every once in a while is good for you because you get BDNF and you get,
Mm.
I mean, the whole body kind of, it's like
Hey,
turning the
real,
off
real quick,
switch.
sorry, I hate I have to stop you because I'm a nerd and I know what you mean, but some people that watch this might not know what BDNF is. Can you give us a TLDR on that?
It's basically your brain's protective mechanism.
Yeah, it's brain derived
Brain,
neurotropic
neuro,
factor.
there you go. But jumping does that. High intensity cardio does it. You know what else we need is more bone. And every day our bones are getting broken down by these little cells that are just stripping them of all of their calcium and all of their bone cells. And then guess what? We go lift weights and we jump and we bounce and we jump rope and we do those types of things. And we have cells that lay it back down again. Exercise, when you exercise, you're building new neurons and you're building new cross bridges between the right and left hemispheres. There's no downside to it. right? It's like for every nerd out there that understands this one, it's like unplugging the machine and plugging it back in again every time you do it. It's like reset, reset. Now everything works properly again for a whole nother day. That's how I look at it. So what I tell my clients is we do cardio for the mind, for the brain, we lift for the body, and we eat to support both of those.
Mm.
I think that's the simplest way I can put it. That's how to be healthy.
I got to go back because I completely forgot to mention this. We were talking about the gut microbiome and
Mm-hmm.
personality, right? Like the fact that it actually impacts your personality. This is crazy to me. There was a cancer patient. I think it was a mother who had chemotherapy. And as you know, chemotherapy just completely destroys your gut microbiome. It is just torches everything. And so oftentimes they do fecal transplants. And they did that. And her daughter was the donor, and her daughter was obese. And her daughter was, I think she had some sort of mental health issue, depression, anxiety, that sort of thing. And mom was a fitness.
Good. Then mom got it.
Mom got it. Completely made her obese within like 6 months and changed her entire personality from somebody who was totally mentally healthy to like severe chronic depression, all those things that her daughter had just by virtue of that fecal transplant. So that is wild.
It is wild. Yikes. I'm guessing they didn't live together.
They did not, no.
Because you share the microbiome of the people that you live with.
Well, tell me more. I didn't know that.
Isn't that wild? Yeah. So I years ago I had a podcast with my co-founder, and we had the microbiologist from Microbiome Labs on, and he was telling us how, yep, you share the microbiome of everybody in your house. So when one person goes on antibiotics, you could expect to have your own gut microbiome diminished because they were on the antibiotics.
How does that work?
Everything we touch has our bacteria on it, and we're touching everything in the house with everybody else's bacteria on it. And just by virtue of flushing the toilet, sends off poof all of our bacteria into the air. Which I got to tell you, after that, I definitely made sure the seat went down every single time. I'm like religious about that now. You just stay right there as much as possible. But
yeah, have you seen that where they put like the UV type of stuff in, or like the
no, I don't want to see that.
light after? Yeah, that's.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that.
Everybody who's not grossed out, go on YouTube.
I've got an imagination, but yeah. So that's basically how it happens, right? Because you will stick your hand in your mouth at some point, right? You stick your hand in your eye. You'll have your own microbiome. Your skin has its own microbiome, and we spread that everywhere. We touch things that everybody else touches, becomes part of us. So you bring in a pet, and you'll also experience the same thing. So sometimes he said it's really good to bring in a pet, and the more microbiomes you have in the house, the better, because yes, you will get sick, but you will also be stronger for having been sick. Your immune system will strengthen. So yeah, when your kids go to school, it's like, well, yeah, we're all going to get sick, but we will have stronger immune systems eventually.
People don't like that though. It's weird. This goes back to the anxiety thing. I think there's a lot of people. You just watch TV, right? It's always like Lysol and hand wipes and sanitize everything, and like the moms of this world are being marketed to with this fear porn about how these germs are going to kill their kids, and it's constant. And I think that's a real problem.
It's a real problem. I'll tell you a quick story. In the beginning of building this coaching business since COVID, I was using Microbiome Labs and their stool samples, their stool kits. So a client would send in their stool kit. We'd get this report, and we'd know all of the different bacteria that are showing up, some that aren't existent, some that should be, the good, the bad, the ugly, and all of that. And I remember looking at one of the reports and going over it with one of the doctors. And she said, "Does your client use hand sanitizer?" And I said, "I don't know. Why?" She goes, "Because it looks like he does, because it's killing this good bacteria." I went, "You're kidding." She goes, "Yeah, tell him to stop using it right away." Okay. You can see it in your microbiome report.
So what do you think happened after COVID then? Because boy, COVID, I mean, the whole world went crazy with that stuff.
Yeah, I didn't use any.
No, me either.
I didn't use any. I didn't put on a mask unless I couldn't get in without it, because my son couldn't wear a mask. and he had to go everywhere I
Mm.
went. And so we would go into the grocery store and they're like, why aren't you wearing a mask? I'm like, he can't. And he's right in front of me. So if he gets it, I'm going to get it. What's the point? He doesn't have it. I don't have it. We're not going to give it to you if you're wearing a mask. It was peak insanity, but it was a really interesting psychological experiment to see that, to see how many people dropped logic in the face of
Everybody did.
fear.
Everybody did. It was the craziest thing to see, and it was really reminiscent to me of post 9/11. Like
Yeah.
when there is this ever present danger, and then like remember after 9/11, there's a threat level. It's orange today. It's orange.
Yeah,
Oh,
I remember that.
and it was constant. Like the news cycle was 24/7. The next attack. Where's it going to come from? What are we going to do? Like take your shoes off at the airport. Like, and I think COVID just replayed that same pattern, and people got scared into compliance, and the whole nation, man, they just went completely crazy.
And they did. Yeah. It was wild. I was so grateful to be down here in Orange County at that point because the only place you could go was the beach.
Yeah,
It,
California was pretty wild, right? Like you guys were, other than Orange County, I think the sheriff in Orange County was pretty against this stuff, right?
yeah, I didn't hear the sheriff speak out, but you could tell because the governor, I didn't even know who our governor was, to be honest, until I heard beach closure. Who? Who the hell? Why they think that was a good idea? And I was like, oh, so obviously, because I thought that was the dumbest idea ever. But he said, okay, fine, we'll open the beaches, but you have to keep moving. You cannot sit. I swear, I went out to the beach that same day with all three of my kids, and there were people sitting in their chairs and the lifeguards going up and down the beach and nobody saying a word. And I was like, love Orange County. I love Orange County. It's the last place where people have any kind of logic and sanity. It was great. It was great. It's worth the price. Just being here, that was worth the price of admission. It was good. Yeah, so
Yeah,
we spent our whole summer at the beach.
that's really cool because I saw a lot of people getting arrested, like to be completely alone, paddleboarding out in the ocean completely alone, and then the cops would come and send them to jail. That was a wild time.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. I don't LA County was crazy with that. They filled in
Skate
skate
parks.
skate parks in Venice Beach
And they
with
took like the
sand.
basketball hoops and put like 2x4s over his head. And it's like, what are you talking
I
about?
I was like, you want people to get exercise. You want their immune systems to stay healthy, right? Why are you taking away their ability to exercise? What are you doing? So it was keeping my kids sane during that period of time was the most important thing to me, and taking them to the beach and teaching them how to body surf and play in the water was their sanity break. They were like, okay, so life is still a little bit normal. Mom's not crazy. Right. Yeah. That was a wild time. But that goes back to the gut microbiome thing, right?
100%.
You were talking about when people get sick, and this is what led us down the COVID path. So circling back around to, yeah, people get anxiety about getting sick. Well, one of the things that I do for my clients is I've got access to the supplement. It's not the best name for it, but it's called Cleanse, right? And people think, oh, it's going to clean me out. No, it's actually a binder. What it does is it cleans out all the LPS that the gram negative bacteria leave behind. And so it makes
Sorry,
you
what's
healthy.
LPS?
LPS are, so the bad bacteria have these little like finger like things. Think of it like hairs on a
Mm-hmm.
bacteria, right? And during digestion, they break off. Well, those LPS are endotoxin, and they can escape up to the brain and start causing havoc with mood and things like that. Well, what Cleanse does is it binds the LPS and removes it out of the gut the way it's supposed to be.
So they actually penetrate the gut access or the gut barrier?
Well, it's a pill. You take it so it gets in there.
No,
Yeah.
no, no. I'm saying is the
Oh, the
LPS.
LPS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Slips right through leaky gut. Boom.
Oh,
Right up
so
the
like
vagus nerve.
what do they call it? The channels. What do they call it in the gut? That the channels open up and then you
The
can
little microjunctions. Yeah, but
microjunctions. Yep.
the LPS travel via the vagus nerve right up to your brain.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the things so what Cleanse does also though is it boosts your immune system because it's just little pieces of antibodies. So every time one of my family members or one of my clients says, I think I'm starting to get sick. I'm like, load up on cleanse. And like, they're over it fast. Like, take 6 and 6, take 12 a day, and you'll be over it. Just don't do any cardio, lay low. You'll skip over the illness. It helps your body fight the virus.
Got it. Got it. So now, since we're talking about supplements, I know you're not a huge proponent. What are the supplements that you would recommend to a client?
Depending on where they're at in their gut health journey, if they have issues going on, they might need motility or stress complex. Those are motility helps your body produce more serotonin. Stress complex drives down cortisol. Those are pretty important these days. Good probiotic is really, really important because spore probiotics will help the rest of the bacteria proliferate. And I know a lot of people are huge proponents of creatine. I've never noticed a difference on it. I know most people that are looking to lose weight don't like seeing the scale go up or having their
For
clothes
sure.
fit tighter. So I've just never been one that ever took it, and never seen anybody that wanted to lose weight ever feel really awesome on it. Now, that aside, I do give it to my 7-year-old. He's got developmental delay, so I want his brain functioning at the highest capacity possible at all times. So I'm willing to give him a lot of creatine for that. But yeah, I'll give him some gut health supplements, maybe NAC with glycine, because that does go in and help repair any oxidative stress that's been on the mitochondria back to where it was in your late teens, early 20s. Those two combined seem to do it. That's what the research shows. But I'm very particular about the research. Obviously, I'm like, I want to make sure that this idea will help in a really fundamental way, not just help this particular symptom, but help the system work better at the cellular level. So yeah, I take L-carnitine, always have. That's a great one. That I take liposomal L-carnitine before I do cardio or even go for my workout. So that one's,
Liposomal L-carnitine, right? So
yeah.
L-carnitine, that's an amino acid derived from meat, essentially, right? Like that's very heavy or prevalent in meats, like red meats.
In red meat, yeah, but your body, I mean, just eat protein and you're going to get it. But the L-carnitine in particular is the rate limiting step of fatty acid oxidation. So if you don't have enough sitting right there at the mitochondrial membrane ready to shuttle those fatty acids across to be converted into ATP, then you might do the activity to get your body to release the fat, but you can't convert it into ATP very quickly. So it'll just kind of sit there waiting for the shuttle to show up and get it across. So the
Got
more of
it.
it you have, the more fat you can burn at a time. It's a good
Cool,
idea,
cool.
right? Like, let's burn more fat. Yes. Yes, please.
That's what most people want,
The
unless you're
bodybuilding
like,
community loves the injectable. And I'm like, I don't want to inject myself every day.
why do you think that is?
Probably because it's really readily available into the cells. But
Mm.
that's why I like the liposomal, because it forces the cell to accept it. And when you just take a regular L-carnitine pill or liquid, it's going to maybe only 10% of it's going to get absorbed because it's going to go through the gut and all of that stuff. But that's why they like to bypass the gut. Let's just inject it directly. I'm like, yeah, I'm really not all that keen on having to inject myself every day when I go out. So I'll just pop these instead. I don't find anybody else really likes to do it that much either. But yeah, I want to keep my supplements to a minimum so I can hopefully not have to travel with them. DHEA for women over 40 is a really, really good start to helping them have enough testosterone to build muscle and burn body fat. And then from there, I just customize it.
Now you're talking about hormones. That's an interesting topic. Do you have any opinion on like HRT for both men and women?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly beneficial.
At what age?
Whatever age they need it, you'll know. I mean, depending on your activity level, depending on how much muscle you have, depending on what your goals are, you'll know. I have some clients that needed to go on HRT because their periods were crazy. I have one that uses Retta as because it helped stabilize her mood during her periods. I have several clients on TRT And they're just like, this is awesome. I feel amazing. And I'm like, yeah, you don't want to stop feeling amazing. And it's pretty great. Yeah. I don't know
Yeah, I've
why you
heard.
wouldn't want to feel as young as possible for as long as possible.
Yeah, and I think people are afraid of the side effects. Essentially, I think the bodybuilding community, just to circle back to them, that has overdone testosterone and
You gotta take a
the,
while.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, and I think people don't have any nuance. They look at the whatever the top level body physique people are, and assume that the people that have negative consequences based off of that. Like if I just
yeah.
adjust my hormones to get into like an optimal level, that means I'm going to have a bunch of negative health effects occur to me. That's a myth, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what you're aiming for is when you're over 40, a guy will oftentimes have testosterone somewhere in the 400-ish range. You know, the older you get, the lower it tends to get. I had a client that was 65 when he started working with me. We used DHEA to boost him up into like the 600s. He was like in the 200s. But then he decided to just go on TRT. I was like, there you go, because DHEA is not going to get him up to 1,000. It's just not.
Yeah,
But he
is
built
that
a
what you're
six
aiming
pack.
for? Is that what you're aiming for these clients? Is to get them up in like the 1,000 range?
And well, the doctors that I talk to like anywhere from the 800 to 1,200 range. So 1,000, nice medium. But that 65-year-old client dropped a bunch of body fat and built a six pack without it, without TRT. Halle Berry went on a talk show and said she's on TRT. I built my body naturally without it, but I take some now just because I want faster recovery and I want to be able to have more energy and keep going. It's really the faster recovery part that I like the most because I'm like, man, otherwise you're stiff and sore for a while after some of my workouts, the way I train. So, but
Yeah,
it's a small
so
dose. It's a small dose.
yeah, so
Yeah.
women tend to, at least I'm observing women tending to have this sort of anxiety that I'm going to get too huge. Whether they're lifting weight, you've heard this, right? Like if I
I
go
have.
lift weights in the gym, I'm going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. If
Yes.
I take TRT or something like that, take testosterone, I'm going to,
I'm
talk
gonna
to me about,
Hulk out.
yeah, talk to me about those myths.
Okay, those are absolute myths. You have to take a lot, a lot of testosterone to get to that kind of size. And you still have to eat like crazy, and you still have to work your butt off like crazy. So a normal person isn't going to get there. They're just going to not feel so tired. They're not going to feel so slow if their hormones are balanced right. Um, when it comes to bulking out, okay, any woman that's listening, and guys too, your body has a natural threshold for how big it's going to get. That's it. Once you hit that threshold, it can't build more muscle unless you really force the issue through steroids. You hit your limit, you maintain. That's as good as you can do. I've been this size literally since high school. I just got, denser and, leaner. So my muscles did grow. I don't have as much body fat as I did back then, but I'm the same size that I've
Yeah.
been forever.
It,
And that's through three kids.
Yeah, and I think that's really important message to get out because some of these things are so crucial for women's health as they age, right? Like the
Oh,
lean body
yes.
tissue, like that is super important. Having an appropriate metabolism and also bone health too. Talk to me about like the impact
Oh my
on bone
goodness.
health with resistance training.
Okay, so your bones get thicker when you train with weights and jumping. So walking isn't gonna be enough. Swimming definitely isn't because we don't have any gravitational pull. We're not getting enough resistance there. You need to lift weights. You need to lift them over your head. You need to pull them from over your head. You need to stand up with them. You need to squat down with them. You need to do all of the things with weight. And bands aren't quite the same thing. There's not quite enough overload. The other part is you want to have as much muscle as you can put on your frame before you turn age 60. Because, I mean, Peter Attia wrote it in his book. He talks about the studies that we know of how fast the decline is. And if you're weight training, you just slow the decline. Now, if you're weight trained and you've got some testosterone and you're like really acting like you're trying to build muscle, you'll probably slow the decline to a crawl but there'll still likely be some. Now, Jack LaLanne is a perfect example of how healthy and strong you can be into your 80s. I don't know if you know who he is, but he was one of the
Yep.
godfathers of, okay. So I remember him being on the Today Show. I don't even remember how long ago it was at this point, but he got into New York Harbor and pulled a tugboat swimming in his 80s. Man is insane. It just, I was like, bravo, bravo, dude, please. Like, can everybody please do that? Because if all the grandpas were like that, you know, the grandchildren would not be screwing around doing some of the stuff they're doing because they'd be worried that grandpa would find out. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
They would not be messing around stabbing women on trains, I'm sure, if they had a
Ugh.
grandpa that was going to go whoop their butt like that. So it's vitally important. Your muscle on your body, the amount of muscle that you have, is your amino acid reservoir. If you don't get enough in a day, your body will start tearing down the muscle tissue to provide enough amino acids for all the other things that it needs to do, like build DNA, stuff like that, you know? So because your body's never going to stop doing that, it needs to take it from somewhere. Your job is to eat enough protein so that it doesn't take it from your muscles, and to eat enough protein so that your muscles can repair themselves and actually grow as much as they possibly can. Give your body the hormones it needs in order to be able to do that. Those are good practices to be able to do as long as you're alive. And if your muscles are strong, it's likely that your bones are going to be strong. You won't find someone with strong bones and weak muscles, or strong
Yep.
muscles and weak bones. They go hand in hand, because the way in which you go about getting those strong bones will also yield you strong muscles at the same time. So you don't want to be a fall risk, right? So that's part of why you want to train a certain way too. You want to train a little bit functionally. You want to train your balance, because one of the biggest things that cuts off your life expectancy when you're older is falling and breaking a hip. If you have to have a hip
Mm.
replacement, generally cuts your life expectancy short. See, I spent about 20 years building a financial planning practice, and got to talk to a lot of underwriters, because I wrote a lot of life insurance policies. And that is what they told me. Oh, she had a hip replacement. Oh, she's declined. Why? She's otherwise perfectly healthy. Because hip replacement shortens your life expectancy. We won't have enough
By
time
a
to collect enough
lot.
premiums.
By
I'm
a
like,
lot. I was
you're
shocked to see
kidding.
somebody who falls and breaks a hip when they're elderly. The delta between when that break happens and the end of life is so short. The actuarial tables are ridiculous.
They are accurate. They are absolutely accurate. So if that's the one thing that all of our exercise and all of our good TRT and HRT and all of the good nutrition does, is it extends our life expectancy simply because we don't fall and break a hip and need to have a hip replacement, then oh, I guess we got to live a pretty good life alongside it. What a what a terrible thing,
Yeah,
right?
it's horrible.
Yeah, so it's
Uh,
a really good reason to do it. And then go play with your grandkids and be able to get up and off the floor. And by the way, it costs less to be healthy than it does to be unhealthy. So there's that.
oh man, I get so pissed off when I hear people talk about I can't afford to eat healthy, and it's like the cost benefit analysis is off the charts. If you are metabolically unhealthy, you are going to be costing yourself infinitely more money than if you
Mhm.
were just to spend money on high quality protein sources and have a well-rounded diet and all the things. Like it's such a discount, but people are very short-sighted.
They are. They were so short sighted that in 2013, I decided to create this event called How Your Health Impacts Your Wealth. I had a couple of doctors who were my financial clients, and I said, this is what I'm thinking. I see all of these unhealthy people. Now, this is why I went out of finance and back into health and fitness, and built my company here. A lot of my financial clients were struggling to get to retirement. Why is this so hard? So I started digging underneath the surface, and there was a common thread, that those that were the least metabolically healthy were also the least able to save and invest to retire. So I asked my doctor client, what's it cost? She said, I'll do some research and find it for you. So she went and she did some research. I said, so I want to know how much it costs to have ADHD, because that's a pretty common one. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, osteoporosis. We already know what the Alzheimer's numbers were at the time. And so she came back to me with that data. I took all of those diseases and said, okay, given the time, the age at which you are normally diagnosed with it and put on some type of medication to manage it. And then I took that age and I extrapolated it over 3 different rates of return, 5, 8, and 10%, up until age 65. And because I thought maybe it's not that big of a deal. Maybe I'm biased toward health and it's not that big of a deal. It is so much a bigger of a deal than I even imagined it would be. For a lot of people, I mean, it's costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, to continue to be unhealthy.
That's terrible.
That's why I started building bod care. So I went
Ooh.
from doing my individual coaching business where I was basically testing my methods. How do I get great success for people? How do I get them off medications, off of SSRIs, off of PPIs, off of their cholesterol medication? How do I get their weight down? How do I get them metabolically healthy, mentally healthy? And because I've been able to prove it over and over and over again, I'm like, great, let's take it to companies now. Let's help them get a healthier workforce, because healthy people cost less. They cost
sure
less
do.
on their health insurance. They cost less in drugs. They cost less in absenteeism. They cost less in presenteeism, which is just a fancy word for saying I showed up for work, but I'm really not here. I'm thinking about all other kinds of things. And apparently, like at least one day out of every week, every single employee has some kind of presenteeism day. So the employer's paying for them to be there. They're not taking a sick day. They're not taking a personal day. They're just there because they're saving those days for other days. They're just there, not being productive. But healthy people cost less. So that's why bod care. That's what we're after.
What is bod care exactly? I'm not totally familiar.
So, well, the bod care would be my employee benefit program. That imagine if everybody had a personal trainer and a nutritionist, and they were checking in on them every single day about how well they did, and they had a coach that was getting them mentally ready for the day before they showed up for work and gave them feedback on how well they did with their food and their workouts and everything else every single day. Imagine how healthy they would be. That's what we're bringing to the public.
Interesting. So are you marketing this to like what, small, medium enterprises that are looking to cut costs with their workforce healthcare?
Right now, yes, so that we can prove our data, prove how much we end up saving them, so we can go to the large enterprises and help them.
Nice. I'd love to see that, because the large enterprises, that is a huge driver. Where I work, it is insane how much money that I get charged for health insurance premiums, and I understand that it's that
ridiculous.
curve is smoothed out across the entire pool. And I talk to people enough to see the trends, which is there's a group of people that just never go to the doctor. They're never taking anything. And then there's this like small minority that is all the care is being spent on them. Chronically ill.
Yep.
They're constantly the doctors. They got 19 prescriptions. It seems to be that curve is definitely steep that way.
That's right. And they're the ones driving the vast majority of the cost.
For everybody.
And driving it up, for everyone. So if everyone got a chance to have a personal trainer, have a nutritionist, get it all checked in on all the time, right? And they're happier and healthier, then those costs would be lowered for everybody. And personally, I think that where medicine should go back to is back to medicine, not trying to provide health care, because it does a really bad job of that. Medicine does a poor job of providing health. It does
doctors aren't trained for that, right?
Medicine. Not only are they not trained for it, but but those two initiatives are financially at opposite to each other. The doctor's job is to give you medication. My job is to get you off of medication. How can the doctor be both the person that says, here, take this drug, but also let's get you off of it too? Those two incentives are diametrically opposed. That's why that model doesn't work. So we need bod care and medical insurance to coexist side by side, You take them when they're healthy and when they broke their leg doing something super fun. We'll keep them healthy over here the rest of the time so that they don't have to pay through the nose for health insurance, because it is ridiculous how much it costs. It's costing the country trillions.
It definitely is. And boy, we seem to be just getting fatter and sicker as a country over time. It doesn't seem to be getting any better. Whew.
Yeah, well, and the thing about it is, when we came out with these GLPs, that seemed like it was starting to tip the curve back in the other direction. It was like, oh, this could be a good thing. The problem is they're so expensive that now what employers are having to do is, let's say they have a relatively small group of 50 people or 100 people, and there's a handful that are on the GLPs. But because they have to keep there, it's driving the utilization up for the entire group. So everybody's healthcare costs rise. Let's stop calling it healthcare when it's not actually helping you take care of your health. Call it medicine. Call it medical care. Used to be called that.
I got to ask you about GLP-1s because I don't have all the data. I realize it's somewhat new. The long-term data really isn't there. I do see some alarming trends in the data, particularly with muscle loss and fat cell hyperplasia. You're basically getting newer, smaller fat cells, and so if you go off it, you just kind of get fatter. We're getting less muscular and fatter, and then particularly the cardio, the heart muscle reductions as well seems concerning to me. I just think anytime something appears to be a magic pill or a magic shot, something where, oh, I don't have to diet, I don't have to exercise, I can just take this thing, I'm positive. Like there's something in me that's just like, there's no way that this is going to be good for you long term. What are your thoughts?
As long as you treat it like something that is going to replace good healthy eating habits and exercise, then yeah, it's probably a really bad thing. I lived through a number of these already in the fitness industry. So fen was the first one out in the 90s, early 2000s. They took that one off the market. There, I use it with my clients when they're already getting their protein dialed in, when they're lifting weights. And because I check in on them every day, I know exactly who's on the GLPs and who isn't. And I'm looking for their protein. I'm like, you need more protein today. Oh, and let's increase the weight on that, and make sure you got your cardio in. And I'm making sure they're doing all the lifestyle habits, because what I think it is good for is as a tool. It's not a crutch, should never be used as a crutch, but it should be used as a tool to help us bridge the gap and get some momentum going in the right direction so that they can start to believe that they're capable of actually achieving the goal. Because one of the hardest parts when someone has a lot of weight to lose is there's a lot of narrative in their head that says, I'm broken. There's something wrong with me. It'll always be this way. It'll never get any better. And now they're going to try one last time. Right? They're like, I've got one more in me before I completely give up. That could be the one thing that starts tipping the scale back in the right direction and helping them stay on those healthy habits. Then we need to titrate them off of it so that we can readjust their diet back again to where it should be without having to have the GLP. So the food noise is a real thing. I used it when I was getting ready for my last competition in August, just a month ago. I used it because I was in such a steep deficit. I was at 1,000 calorie a day deficit for a little bit there. I can guarantee you it was a lot easier this time because I didn't have the food noise and I wasn't constantly distracted by all the food that I couldn't eat than it was the first time I had my competition. It was just a little bit easier, and that's all I needed. I didn't take much. It was like 0.5 milligram a week. It was like such a small amount because I'm very good with my food. But when you're that steep of a deficit, it's hard. And so people that are starting out dieting or trying for the last time, it could be the one tool that could get them across the finish line. So I don't want to vilify it, but I don't want to see people use it as their only means of weight loss, because yeah, if you're not counterbalancing that muscle loss with weight training, with eating enough protein, with changing your relationship with food, right? Because everybody that gained a lot of weight, something caused it. There's some psychological something that was going on. And maybe it was childhood trauma, like you brought up earlier, right? That's a really big one for most people. If you've gained more than a couple of, pant sizes, something in your head said, just go buy another size up instead of maybe I should shut my mouth and stop eating for a day or two and get this back on track, right? You just kept eating and kept eating and kept self-soothing because either you couldn't smoke because you gave that up already, couldn't drink because you gave that up already, you don't gamble, right? There's all these other vices that people will tend to use to self-medicate when they're mentally struggling with something. Food is a really easy one to be addicted to.
It's so socially acceptable. Like there's no stigma almost anywhere attached to that. Like it's like, oh, I'm a foodie. I'm a foodie. I like to go, and it's totally accepted.
Who doesn't like a hamburger? Right?
Yeah. It's a weird one. So I think and it's also something you have to do. It's not like drinking, right? Like
This is why it's hard to skip, because any addiction that you can't live without, like you can't just cut out cold turkey, like you can't do it with sex, love, or food. You have to learn how to manage those and change your relationship with it. This is why sex addicts have trouble, why food addicts have trouble. And if you've gained more than a couple of pant sizes, I guarantee there's something in there that we are self-medicating for that we now need to start tackling in order to ultimately make permanent results and change our relationship with food. Otherwise, cross addiction occurs. You just jump to a different one because you can't cut food out of your life altogether, like you can with alcohol or drugs or gambling or porn or things like that. But let's say somebody cut down their food, right? I'm never touching sweets again. I'm going on this diet. I'm hardcore keto. That's it. But now the stress comes up. What are we doing? We're shopping. We're overworking. We're watching porn to relax. We're doing all kinds of other things that are still shameful behaviors that are going to hide instead of going and eating the Twinkie.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing, just tie this back to the microbiome thing, that we share a microbiome. We also share a food environment, and we also share a social environment. And I think people oftentimes, especially if let's say you live in a home where there's an unhealthy relationship with food, and then you're the person that wants to get your shit together, and you start, what happens?
And they sabotage you. Yep.
All this feigned concern comes out of everywhere, right? Like, oh my gosh, you're like, are you okay? You're not eating enough. Or like I got this with the carnivore thing. When I did the carnivore January, like people all of a sudden were like, oh my gosh, I'm so concerned about your health. And it's like, dude, I was 280 pounds. Nobody said shit to me when I was fat.
That's exactly right. They never do.
Never.
Oh, but as soon as I start to make some drastic changes because I need to, now all of a sudden you're all shocked and shaken. Please.
Yep. Just,
but they do sabotage.
Yeah, on Saturday, I don't know if you saw. I know we're in the same group with Mark Lobliner, but I went out to Indiana and I hung out with Zach Hummel and Jordan Goldstein and did the Backyard Ultra. Prairie on Fire was really awesome going out there. And people are just like, oh my gosh, like there's this concern, like you're running all this way, and it's like you're not really concerned.
Right? No, you really just want me to quit so that you can feel better about you quitting on yourself too.
Many such cases. I don't know why that is. I don't know why we as human beings, when we're in like the dark places, want to drag people down who are trying to get out of it. But it's a thing.
I forget who said it. Maybe it was Shakespeare. Misery loves company.
It does.
It wants it. Nobody. Right? We're the only species that does that.
Yeah, so I think it's important to have a good group, even if it's online, like just people that are encouraging you, uplifting you, that are cheering you on, as opposed to trying to bring you down. Because boy, there's a lot of people that are swimming around. You think they're your friends, and they're just straight sharks.
Yep, it's really hard when you're the child of parents that don't take their health very seriously, and then you end up being like the black sheep of the family. Oh, she's a health nut. Oh, she's a gym rat. Why is it always a nut or a rat or like something negative attached to that? How did that happen?
It's weird and it's getting worse. I think that there's this trend where everybody wants to celebrate their pathology now. There's this very weird thing going on where everybody wants to shout their mental illness from the rooftops. And it's not like we should stigmatize mental illness, right? Like I'm not
No,
saying
but
that.
let's
To
not make it our
celebrate it,
identity.
yeah, you make it your identity, to celebrate it, to just be like, oh, this is who I am. And the other thing I think is really pathological on the flip side is I see this a lot with females where they'll have this girl who's clearly morbidly obese, and they wear the outfits they shouldn't be wearing, and everyone's like, oh yes, queen, like they're clapping for this person. I'm like, that's hateful. Like that is
It
really
is.
hateful to do to
It's
someone.
hateful. Yeah, I don't know why they do it. Like you really don't like your friend.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I think we've celebrated mediocrity, and anyone who's trying to achieve, it just feels like society is just absolutely rabidly trying to tear them all the way down.
Yep. It does feel that way. And then they fit shame people.
Fit shame, that's a new term. Like I haven't heard that before. What do you mean? You probably get that a lot more than me because you're way fitter than I am.
She's so muscly. She looks like a man.
Ah, got it.
He's got a six pack. He's vain. So
Yeah,
there's
what's this
something
thing
wrong
with
with
the
looking
dad
good.
bod? Like that's a new thing too. Is
Well, I
that
know,
like
celebrating a dad bod. I was like, you people are lying through your teeth. You do not.
yeah, I gotta
That
ask.
is
I've never asked a woman this. Like, is that complete bullshit? When you see a guy with a dad bod, are you like, oh yeah, I prefer that guy over the dude with the six pack? Like, that sounds like bullshit to me.
generally speaking, yeah. I mean, I think that women like to try to say, I love my man anyway. And so I'm just going to support him being healthy because they don't expect a six pack. But you have never seen a bunch of dad bods parading around in Vegas and having women throw ones at them, have you? No, no, you don't, sir. They are all rock hard six pack, boulder shoulders with big lats.
Yeah, I gotta say, the last time I went to a Thunder Down Under show, no, I'm kidding. Literally never done
Like
that.
there's a sentence I wasn't expecting to hear today. I know
I've
I've
been to
never been to
Vegas way too
those,
many
but
times. I've seen the billboards. So
I've seen the billboards. You never see it. Magic Mike didn't have a dad bod.
can you imagine? Oh my,
No,
it's like
no.
that.
And this is why I'm like, you can love your husband, absolutely. And you can say, I don't need you to have a six pack. But saying that you prefer a dad bod is just saying, I also don't want to have to work that hard. I want to be kind of lazy. So if you aren't in great shape, I don't have to be in great shape too.
Ooh, I didn't think about it that way. Shared
Yeah.
mediocrity.
Hmm.
It's
Yep.
comfortable.
When all of your girlfriends say the same thing, right? It's never a fitness competitor that says that. Never. Never a woman that's really, really fit says, oh, I prefer a dad bod. Nope. I haven't
Yeah,
seen
and
one.
another thing I thought of too is like set point, because the average body has become so much fatter that I think by comparison, if you've seen these things online that show like the dad bod thing, and you're like, well, I mean, yeah, the guy's, he's not fit, but he's got a little, 20, 30 extra pounds, but it doesn't look that bad when compare it to somebody who's like morbidly obese. It just feels like the whole set point of what is considered like average has really shifted.
I agree, because if you go back and look at the 80s, you wouldn't find an actor on a screen that wasn't as fit as could possibly be. Mm-mm.
Come on, you
And
can
you
be
know what?
healthy at any size, Allie.
Healthy at a lot of sizes. I wouldn't say any. Fit, no, not fit. There was
Really,
a
healthy even. That surprised me that you'd say that.
You could be healthy at a little bigger size. You could. And I'll say this because my mom was a perfect example of this. She was in her 60s. She was overweight. She applied for life insurance. I thought for sure she's getting rated. She was preferred because her blood work and everything was fine.
Mm.
Now women have more wiggle room. So they can be overweight and still be healthy, but men
Visceral
have
fat?
far less.
Is it the visceral fat delta?
I don't know if that's what it is from an actuarial standpoint. I just know they say, here's your height and weight, and women have this much range and men have this much range. So even men that are very muscular they will still have this much range.
Interesting. So I always thought it was because men tend to carry more visceral fat in the belly, whereas women carry more in the hips. And I thought that the visceral fat actually secretes a bunch of really nasty chemicals and stuff, that inflammatory cytokines and things that
It
wreak havoc in your
does.
system.
It does. And over 40, our fat cells start to kick off like, hey, we're going to grow a bunch more visceral fat now. Like genetically, that switch gets turned on. So I would also encourage people that if you're under 40, get as fit as you can before you turn 40 so that you can stave that off as long as possible. I haven't had an issue with visceral fat at all, but my goodness, that's something that I learned recently, like, oh, that's a thing that actually does kick off after 40. That's wild.
Boy, a bunch of stuff seems to kick off after 40. It's just the decline seems to happen fairly rapidly. I just turned 50 this year, and I'm like, oh, all these new things that are popping off. Wasn't even prepared for. It sucks.
I'm going to put off that 50 till next year.
Good luck
But
to you. Maybe just stay 49 forever. I don't recommend turning 50.
no, well, you know
Or
what? As long
pass.
as when you look really good and your energy is really, really high, I don't know. I kind of like getting older.
That was like a big F you. It's like, oh, look at
Uh-huh.
me. I'm 50. I look better than you, and you're 20. Haha. Maybe that's why everyone's fit shaming you, because you're flexing on them.
When I get carded at Trader Joe's, I don't mind it.
Oh man, I can't remember the last time I've been carded. Good for you.
I actually got carded on my birthday. And they were like,
Wow.
can I see some ID? I was like, oh, yes. Yes, you may. Here it is. And they were like, wow, happy birthday. Holy cow. Okay. I was like, thank you. Okay. You made my day. You gave me my birthday present. I appreciate it. Even my kids
Oh,
didn't come up with one that good.
oh
Yeah, it was
man.
pretty sweet.
I wish. Boy, don't I wish.
Right. So, yeah, we're learning a lot more about all the different ways in which we can combat mental health, mental illness through using our body. And this is one of the biggest reasons I could say if somebody's carrying a lot of extra body fat, they need to get rid of it as fast as they can so that they can move their body as well as it can be moved so that you can maintain your mental health. Because if you've ever had a family member that suffered from Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or dementia, any of those mental mind type of diseases, I think you're really going to hope that that doesn't happen to you,
Yeah,
you
for
know?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to talk about is sauna. Like, what's your opinion on sauna?
It's hot.
Well, yes. Besides the obvious.
I think it's good for sweating. I know all the research says that you're going to have the heat shock proteins and all of that cool stuff. I did try to stay in until the endorphins kicked in. It's pretty brutal. So to me, the only real benefit that I get out of that is the mental toughness aspect, is
Mm.
making myself not quit something that's very, very uncomfortable, where your mind is going, get out, 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 get out. And you're like, 2 more minutes, 2 more minutes. And you're just waiting and you're waiting and you're like, once those endorphins kick in, then I will do it. And good. Because I get all the other health benefits I get from everything else. I don't really have time to sit in the sauna except maybe once on a weekend every now and again. So I don't make a lot of time for that kind of stuff. I'd rather do the cardio because I'm going to get more benefit out of doing cardio than just from sitting in a sauna. Do people get a lot of benefit out of it? Sure. Is it placebo? I have no idea. I got I got mental strength benefits out of it. Kind of the same way when I'm doing hard cardio and I'm huffing and puffing and my heart
Hmm.
rate's up around 90, 95% of my max and I'm like, this is why I win because I do hard things. Right? And that's how I talk to myself when I go through that. But otherwise sitting in the sauna for 10 or 15 minutes just feels nice. That's cool.
Yeah. And one of the things I've noticed is it seems to be a good gateway drug. If somebody is not really into doing vigorous cardio, I think you probably know the benefits of having very vigorous cardio are exponential. They're great. They're way
Right.
better than,
That's a good
zone
point.
two. And so
Yeah.
if somebody is not used to running on a treadmill and really doing Norwegian 4x4 right out the gate,
Right.
it might be good for them just to sit in there for 20 minutes a day. They don't have to do anything but just sit. And then also, like you said, the mental toughness aspect of it, if they can practice
That's a good
that,
point.
when they start
Yeah.
ramping up their activity level, maybe they can, deploy that mental toughness when they start lifting or start running fast or walking fast or whatever they're going to do cardio wise, might have some benefit.
Yeah. You're right. That could. That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah. Mental training is great. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah, that's just my
Thanks. I may
thoughts
use
on it.
that.
I'm just a dummy on the internet. But I was just compelled originally by the Norwegian study, or not Norwegian, the Finnish studies, right? Like a 40% reduction in death by any cause for people that did it 4 times a week or more for 20 minutes at a time. It's like, that's insane. Death by any cause? That's ridiculous. So for me, like, that's just something that, like, maybe it's placebo, maybe it's heat shock protein, maybe it's cardiovascular.
It's definitely improving your VO2 max.
For sure it is. I look at my heart rate and it's up, sometimes I can get it all the way to the max. Like it'll peak out. I'll be like in the 150s sometimes in the sauna. It's like that's real cardio exercise, even though you're not moving your body.
True. Yeah, in the sauna for sure. The way we used to train VO2 max was 5 minutes up, 2 minutes down, not 4 minutes and 4 minutes.
Wow.
That's the old way, apparently. I was like, what's this Norwegian 4x4 stuff? It's 5 and 2. 5 and 2 is what we've always known.
Where's your recovery? 2 minutes, you're not even getting your heart rate back down. Jeez.
Right. It's brutal. It's not like doing VO2 max training like that. It's like just spending an hour in zone 5. It's glorious. This is my masochist talking, though.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of that inside too. I used to be a distance runner before I hurt my knee. So I did my last marathon like 2019, and I've been I've been accused of being a little bit of a masochist sometimes.
You'd have to be, because when you said you were going to go do that ultra, I was like, oh, well, I wouldn't do that. So no, thank you.
It's definitely not fun. Definitely not fun. But doing hard things is good for you.
It is. It really is. Makes life easier.
Yep, that's a paradox right there, but it's 100% true.
Right, but talk about making your confidence shoot through the roof.
Yep, for sure. Sure.
It's unbeatable.
All right, well, hey, we're about at time, so I want to give you a chance to tell everybody out there that's watching where they can find you online.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. It's all at Alli Covington. There's no underscores or anything like that. BodCare is the new company that I launched as the B2B side from Bod by Alli. Bod is the brand, and behavior optimization. And that's really what it stands for at this point. Behavior optimization development. Because we change you permanently, change your mind and your body. But that's where you can find me. You can find me all over the place. Website, all of that. And the website is all in all of the bios. So you can always schedule a time with me, send me an email, send me a text message, send me a DM on social media. I'm very responsive. At least I try to be.
Awesome. You heard it right there. Slide into her DMs, everybody. You got full permission.
Not with naughty stuff.
I didn't say that. Anyway, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate people that are trying to get the best out of people, trying to improve people, trying to improve themselves. What the whole show's about. So I really appreciate what you're doing. Everybody go check out Alli's stuff. You're awesome.
Thanks, Brent. I appreciate it.
Yep. Talk later. Bye-bye.
Okay.